Bigfoot with a sheep's head, the most famous of which was probably the Fort Worth Monster. There's
one out in California too.
Really?
The Billowak Dairy Monster was a Bigfoot with a ram's head.
Yeah, anything you can find these sort of goatmen archetypes, around places, and oftentimes, interestingly, oddly enough, they're often associated with these crybaby bridges, where supposedly a baby was tossed into a river, years ago, and you can still hear the baby crying. Again, we don't necessarily need to go into the prevalence of baby cries and all sorts of the other explained phenomena, from ghosts to UFOs to Bigfoot. But the whole, the sheep squatch and bat squatch, like there is zero evidence in the fossil record for these things. At least you can sort of weasel your way there for there being evidence for Bigfoot, via things like Gigantopithecus and Australopithecus, even though both I think are poor matches for Bigfoot. Can I get name in from Tim?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, at least there are things in the fossil record that look like Bigfoot,
Yeah, but nothing like these other things, which probably leans towards more my idea that people are filling in details when whatever is presented to them doesn't give them any details. It's just some weirdness, and to their minds, it's like, okay, it's a person with a goat's head. And that's what they remember. I don't know if you had a camera there, if you got a picture of a person with a goat's head, but that's their memory, and that's what's going on. And at that point, your objective subjective does not have a very clear dividing line anymore, which I think you encounter a lot in what you wrote about in the book.
I would totally agree. It's like a less insanity-inducing version of Lovecraft, right? It's the same idea of like, I'm seeing something, I don't know what it is, so my brain's going to scream something at me. But to the point that you were making, where that falls in the book is in my discussion of witches, because they sort of do have some entities in Goetia that you can find there being sort of a comparison point for, with these sheep squatch and bat squatch and even dogman, these sort of big. Some people say that dogman, which is basically a fancy word of saying werewolves, but you're a cryptozoologist, so you don't want to say werewolf.
No.
Some people say that dogman. Some people say, dogman is just a Bigfoot, but he's got like a baboon muzzle. And so, but these three different things, dogman
puts on the southern accent for it.
Yeah, well, I'm a Southerner. I can make fun of Southerners. But dogman, bat squatch, and sheep squatch, you can find sort of vague analogs for in these grimoires of different spirits, and it gives me pause. I'm not saying that's what it is, and I'm not saying that any of these comparison points are answers throughout this entire book in either of our chapters that we have. But it is something that gives you pause and sort of makes you step back and try to reframe the way that you're thinking about these things, as opposed to being some sort of flesh and blood creature.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that don't expect at the end of this book that Josh and I are going to say Bigfoot is an interdimensional creature.
Oh, no, don't. Yeah.
Bigfoot is an alien that was dropped here by a UFO pilot.
The soft